The thing I use to stay lean all year round, I use a food scale. Now, food scale, as the name suggests, is basically a device that helps you track your food, making sure you're eating enough calories, whether your goals are to gain weight or lose weight. I'm mainly making these videos for my buddies, my friends. They were struggling to gain weight, so I told them about the food scale. And I really like the food scale because there's different ways to measure shit. So you can measure it in grams, you can measure it in milliliters if you want to measure your water. Obviously, grams being your food. You can measure it in ounces, you can measure your food in pounds. There's many different metrics, but the point is you're tracking your food, you're aware of what goes in. Now, I really recommend you use any food app. I'm not gonna name any in particular unless you want to sponsor me. But literally any food app is gonna have what you need. And what they're gonna ask for like your goals and whatnot. Weight, what you wanna get up to. You wanna lose weight, you wanna cut weight, and from there, they're gonna give you a set number of calories to eat. Now I know it can feel intimidating, when you start off in terms of, tracking your food, checking how much food comes in and out. Baby steps, one step at a time every day. I remember even last May, guys, I've only been doing this for like 10 months, so I understand your pain. You're me 10 months ago, and you'll be me now in a few weeks. So really, it's really all about, taking the time to just embrace and have baby steps. I used to have this limiting belief when I started tracking my food, and it was things like, oh, it's gonna take too long. I'm a routine-based guy, right? So I plan everything on the schedule. And what I found myself is, whenever I'd cook food, whilst cooking without the scale, so I'm talking about all the days prior when I'd cook food, and I look at the time, it would always be the same 30 minutes. And then I also found when I did include the food scale, it was also the same 30 minutes. So isn't that interesting? So it's really all down to how we think with our minds. We perceive it as, oh, it's long, it's daunting, because we're doing something we're not used to, we're doing something we've never done before. But on paper, it's actually the same time, because realistically, come on, let me ask you a very brain-dead question. It's so simple, you're gonna think you're stupid. You weigh the food, right? You literally get food, you put it on a scale. Now, how long do you think it'll take for the scale to probably scan your food? Less than 2 seconds, right? And how long will it take for you to get the food? Less than like 5 seconds, right? So when you add it up, it's really not much. So you think that's gonna play a big factor in the ruin of schedule? It's not. I'm telling you, man. Now, you may also have some cons, because I know there are also some cons and some barriers and rejections which you may have in regard to this. You may think to yourself, okay, what if my mum's cooking the food and I can't really weigh the food because there's no barcode to scan? Because that's how you usually scan your food. You get your barcode out, you scan your products, or you can just type it up, and it makes it a lot easier on yourself. But what if your mum's cooking it and you struggle to do it? What I tend to do is, I'll get the bowl, I'll weigh the bowl without the food. So prior to your parents giving you food, or prior to you just cooking to yourself, assuming you do cook for yourself when you're a lot older, what I tend to do is I'll weigh the bowl, and then I'll weigh the bowl with the food. And what I like to do is now, say you're eating rice or something like that, right? You type in rice in the app. Now you do it with the bowl, the food with the bowl, you take that away from just the bowl. There you will find the weight of the rice, and then you can type it up, and then you can find whatever type of rice it was that you bought, and then just type in rice, so you can note down the grams, so your food has been tracked. And the same can apply with water also. So say, because I know of water products, with me, I like to be very precise with the things I track. You may be a lot more lenient. You may tend to weigh with like a water with a bowl. I don't, so I usually like to weigh my stuff. I get the water bottle, I would weigh the water with the bottle, so I like to measure in ounces, right? I'll weigh it with the bottle, then when I finish drinking the water, I take it off and I weigh the bottle separately, so I can actually check the price. Not price, but more so the stat, how much it weighs and whatnot. So say you're not using a water bottle and you decide to use a cup. Well, the same thing applies. You weigh the cups at your house, just weigh it, and weigh it in whatever you want, whether that be milliliters, you want to weigh water, milliliters, ounces, There is pounds as an option. I'm not sure why you would want to do that because it's not food, but you can do that also. Same with grams. I'm not sure why you want to do that. So I would highly recommend ounces or milliliters. So I'd highly recommend ounces or milliliters. So you weigh the cup like that, just to see the weight of the cup. Now we're gonna pour in the water. So we're gonna take away the cup weight with the water. I'm gonna take that away with just the weight of the cup. Then we're gonna find the actual, intake of water we're taking in, because you can't leave this shit to chance now. And that's pretty much what I do to weigh myself and just stay lean all the time. And if you lose weight, it's really gonna help because it's gonna tailor to your goals. It's gonna give you a set amount of calories. But if your goal is gaining weight, but you don't, and you struggle, you're simply not eating enough. And the same vice versa, if your goal is losing weight and you don't, you're simply not eating less. You get what I mean? That's why I used to say lean all around. This is how I can still have abs whilst being on the boat. Currently sitting here at 85 kilograms. I use this all the time to stay in shape and stay lean. My friends are struggling a lot, so I wanted to help them out, help a brother out, So this video is mainly for those two fellas, I did tell them off camera also, but I believe it'd be easier if they could see a visual representation. And it's also something I needed in the past, tracking my food, because it's one thing we always focus on the physical sense, training a lot, which is good, it's fantastic, but there's actually many factors also which go into that. Nutrition is a major thing also. So make sure we're eating healthy foods and be aware of the food we're eating and track everything one step at a time. Honestly, I even go as far for myself. When I started, eating a lot, not even eating a lot, when I started weighing my food last May, it only felt daunting for the first day, but when you keep doing something, you build a habit, and then it becomes second nature. So within the first week, it became easy. You're just gonna have to trust me this one, man, okay? And even if you wanna, not trust me, why? I mean, you were struggling to put on your weight, right? You wanted to bulk, you were struggling, right? You're struggling to cut. You're struggling to cut. That's why you're watching this, right? That's why you clicked on the video. You needed guidance. You needed help. You need to track your nutrition. You can't leave things to chance. I know how you feel. I've always been that guy, man, stuck at like 150 fucking pounds, 160 pounds, because I didn't track my food. I didn't use the weight scale. Wasn't efficient enough. Until I started using the weight scale, that's when I started seeing growth. I started to become like 170, 175, 180, 185, all that good stuff. So track things, don't leave it to chance.